Creativity is just your ability as a human to come up with ideas and then put them into action.
You have this ability to make phenomenal pictures and to show people how amazing they are as people. That is the gift, and it's pretty special.
For a lot of us, we just aim too low with those intentions. We say, I want to travel, or I want to make X amount of money. And those things are usually pretty attainable to some point. And once we get there, what happens next?
One of the most liberating things as an artist is to remind yourself that you don't have to please everybody. Once you give yourself permission to not have to please everybody, then you can start creating without fear.
With basically anything, there's the art of it, and then there's the business side of it, the logistics of it, the structure of it.
Your excitement is like a compass, and it points you in a certain direction. And when you walk or run in that direction, life seems to just align itself.
Hello, creatives. Welcome back to the Art Creative Podcast. If it's your first time here, then this podcast is all about digging into the minds of creatives, understanding their stories, digging into their creativity, and learning a bit more about what motivates and inspires them to create so that we can take action to create ourselves. If you've listened before, welcome back. Our aim here is to inspire you to become better creatives, artists, and entrepreneurs by learning from the best in the arts and business. I'm Sachin, Khona, a wedding and portrait photographer, event producer, and I'm based out in Vancouver, Canada, and I thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. In this episode, I connect with a photographer who I've admired since I first discovered wedding photography. Fer is unconventional. He's creative, he's a father and a massive entrepreneur, and a big part of the wedding community. He is inspired by cinematographers, tattoo artists, and anyone else who is unconventionally artistic themselves. Fer takes his photos with a critical eye and a creative heart, and today he shares some of that process with us. We talk about how to balance between family, education, and photography, finding and defining your niche, trusting your gut, the importance of finding your own style of creation, and so much more. I really want to thank Fer for giving us his time, and without further ado, please sit back, relax, grab a pen and a pad, and enjoy this conversation with Fer Juaristi. This episode is sponsored by The Experience. The Experience is happening just 3 weeks from now and is a 3-day photography conference and workshop happening October 23rd to the 25th in Vancouver, BC. 10 creatives are going to join us from all over the world, and we have a 4th day of bonus masterclasses on the 22nd of October, in which our 10 keynote speakers will be teaching you hands-on in intimate settings. You can expand your photography business and career by joining us at The Experience, which is for all photographers and creatives from the wedding, portrait, commercial, fashion, and fine art communities. The theme this year is the art and business of photography. And if you want to raise the bar for yourself, learn from the best of the best, then please join us. We'd love to see you there. Listeners to this show can save $100 on the ticket price by using the code podcast at checkout. Just head to www.experience.thisisart.co for more information. Once again, you can save $100 on the ticket price by using the code podcast at checkout. We are now just less than 3 weeks away and we're 80% sold out. So we just have a few tickets left and some of the masterclasses are almost sold out. So once again, head to experience.thisisart.co for more information, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, Fer Juaristi?
Thank you, brother. All good. Happy to be here, my friend.
Awesome, man. What's happening today in your life over in Mexico? Are you in Mexico?
Yes, well, I just flew back from a beautiful destination wedding in San Miguel de Allende, a very colorful and colonial place here that I love doing weddings there, and just back home for a few days and then flying to Italy for another event, man.
Wow, beautiful, man. Beautiful. Well, I wanted to jump into creativity and learning straight away with you, man. You were here at the Experience last year in Vancouver, BC. You're one of our keynote speakers. And you were actually the first speaker that we had on stage. And one thing that I noticed about you and have always admired about you is that I feel you're always a student. You're always learning. You're always listening to each of the other speakers' presentations. You're sitting there, you're taking notes. It just really inspires me. And I want to know from you, what is it that inspires you to continue to learn and grow?
Well, it's so easy to feel established, at least in the industry. And I think that like being a speaker can be quite complicated. What I mean for this is like a lot of people can identify you, but certain kind of shooting style. And sometimes it's hard for you to think outside that box. So for me, like sitting down, like shutting my mouth and just understanding different presenters, and just not only the presenters, like any student, anybody who's there, I like to know how they feel inspired and why they start shooting weddings and how they shoot it. And I want to see their portfolio, because when I'm not in another convention, I don't like to see any other photographer's work, like wedding photographer. So for me, it's my time to educate, to see if I'm still doing the things in a good way, or to learn the new trends. I just feel so lucky to be part of this industry, that everybody's so humble and willing to share their knowledge.
Definitely. Oh, that's beautiful, Fer. And so what have you been learning recently?
Well, it's learn to unlearn. It's one of the big things for me right now. I'm obsessed with this guy. He has a really cool book called An Audience of One. And the main thing, it's like, the more personal your work is, the more universal your message can be. So I'm just trying to respect how I see things and being stubborn to get to the right kind of couples.
Okay, perfect. We'll add a link to that in the show notes for after this conversation. But okay, so at conferences, you look at wedding photography conferences, at least you're looking at the audience's work, you're looking at the speaker's work, and then outside of that time, you're not looking at any of the work.
None, zero, man. Nothing.
Awesome. So,
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about why that is? And also, I mean, you gave a bit of an explanation to just say, understand that you're still relevant, etc., and to also just see what the trends are and things like that. But why is it that you don't look at wedding photographers' work in between conferences?
I think it's so easy to compare yourself with anyone, and then that's when the little devil inside your head can wake up and can say, like, this other photographer has a better place than you, or this other photographer girl has better couple than you, or the location is better, or the clients are cooler, whatever. So for me, that's the devil, man. So when I'm on a wedding season, I try not to consume any other wedding photographers' work, because it's bad for me. I start to compare myself with everybody else, and I don't even follow my friends on social media. No,
I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to that as well. So who are you looking at right now then, in terms of photography? Is there anyone who's really sticking out in your mind?
Well, I have a really bad memory with names. I can send you a few links of guys that I follow a lot. But especially, I've been following a lot of cinematographers, like American, Mexicans, Canadians. All of these guys, for me, are the geniuses. There's like a method behind the pictures, like the colors, the compositions. It's all about psychology. And I think sometimes as wedding photographers, we just want to have this wow effect, or this cool and awesome effect. And we underestimate the psychology behind the images. So for me, the cinematographers are amazing, or also just illustrators and tattoo artists. I love following those guys, because, I don't know, for me, those guys are the true artists. They have a talent without a tool. And I just love their inspiration and their creativity.
That's beautiful. I remember when we met, you encouraged me to follow Canadian cinematographer on Instagram. I think it was just instagram.com/Canadian cinematographer. And I've been following that, and it's very beautiful. And I agree, the colors and the compositions, it can be so interesting and so refreshing to just look at how other people see the world and how they create. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. And any links as well of some of the cinematographers that you really admire. We'd love to check them out as well.
Yes, definitely. I'll give you a big list of them. But yeah, my memory it's not that good, man. Sorry.
Mate, no worries. I see you as a bit of a street photographer in some ways, the way you shoot and some of the moments that you capture. Do you have an affinity for street photography?
That's one of the things that I know that a lot of wedding photographers, it's their inspiration. But for me, it's not like the Alex Webb style, the Steve McCurry, and for me, it's like, oh, I love those guys, but I don't want to be like them. So for me, I practice my street photography when I go on holidays with my family. I just grab my favorite personal camera that has like a fixed 28mm lens. And that's when I practice all this stuff that I see, but I don't try to do it on weddings. For me, weddings are more like dreams, are just more subtle. But for me, like my personal stuff, it's to break my rules that I don't follow on weddings.
Thanks for sharing that with us. When you're at weddings, you said that they were like dreams. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, like it's a wedding can be so obvious. Like if you see everything like from far away, you have this idea or this mental image on your head. Like the bride and groom kissing. The father of the bride hugging her, and it's so obvious to see everything like just a repetition, like a pattern. And for me, weddings, I try to, if this is like a jigsaw, I try to tell this story piece by piece, not to tell this story in one single picture. So maybe a big hug can be only like a close up of hands and a ring, that suggests something. And I love that, like trying to tell this story like in tiny pieces instead of like the iPhone picture that you can see everything in focus from start to end, and you can see the faces of everyone. I'm trying to hide reality in most of my pictures that I show on social media.
Wow. Okay, great. So is that one of the things that you feel sets you apart from other photographers, that you're in the way that you share those images online?
Well, I think the photographers that I admire do that, and I just try to emulate them.
What is a way in which somebody could be encouraged to try and see things a bit more dreamlike and a bit more different at their next wedding?
I still remember one of the first workshops I took was by Sergio photographer. He's based in Arizona, and he told us like, hey guys, like you have to imagine that you're from Mars, and you're just landed in planet Earth with your like flying saucer, and you're seeing everything for the first time. So even a dog or a kid or a kiss, it's something that it's gonna blow your head or your two heads because you're Martian, right? You have two brains.
Yes.
So trying to see that, like everything's fresh, everything's new. You have to try to perceive that stuff. Like that's why I don't follow a lot of photographers, because it's too obvious. A wedding can be so freaking obvious if we follow the rules. So I don't know, someone like Anna Cooperberg or like Tyler Worken. For me, those guys we can talk about, okay, let's do a picture of a kiss, and you have in your mind like a normal picture of a kiss, and you have a fountain in the background or something super cheesy, right? But like these guys, what have taught me, it's like, okay, there's a fountain, there's a kiss, okay, shoot through the freaking fountain. Like, don't show me the fountain, like make things interesting, like find a more curious perspective of the same freaking action that's happening in front of you.
That's brilliant advice, Fer. Thank you. Beautiful. So I remember once, so as a bit of a background, I have been following your work since maybe 2010 or something. I saw you at SWPP, which was one of the first conferences that I attended in London way back when. And then in 2011, my brother and I actually came out to Paris to learn from you. You did a workshop.
Yeah, like a street shooting.
Yeah. And we did, it was with David Josue.
Josue.
And, oh, sorry, I mispronounced. How do you say David's last name?
Josue.
Okay. So yeah, it was with David Josue. And yeah, I absolutely loved learning from you then. And one of the things that I believe it was from that conference, from that workshop, was when you spoke about your couples and how, the sort of work that you put out there and how you attract the sort of couples that you get. You mentioned that on your emails. So say somebody inquires, when you reply to them, one of the things that you mentioned is that you said you would write, your wedding is an experiment to me. Is that still true? And can you explain a bit about why you would send that to a couple?
Yes, well, that message, it's on my homepage. Like if you go to my domain, it's one of the first things that you see.
Wow.
And I don't know, like I've been doing this for 12 years, and it took me maybe about, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 years to have the courage to show it on my website. Because I don't know anyone who starts shooting weddings or grabbing a camera to become a millionaire. Okay. So when you start shooting weddings, it's so easy to just repeat yourself or to get uninspired by the kind of couples that they book you, because it's so easy to visualize or to see that wedding photography, it's only a service. It's not a craft, or it's not an art. So for me, social media, it's like that. And my website is the same. I try to scare as many traditional couples as possible. So I need the images to represent that. I need the text to have like a jab punch. And then on my website as well, like I have like this family video of my family, and I'm showing my life. It's not a super professional photographer who has X amount of awards and with a big freaking telephoto and looking sexy to the camera. It's not like that. I'm trying to become like a more personal photographer instead of a professional photographer, and that helps me break that barrier. Like my work, it's gonna resonate. It's just trying to become a niche photographer, and that's it.
Awesome. And do you feel like have you fully found your niche? Are you right in there, or are you still honing, still defining?
I'm always defining, and it's so easy to go to the wedding, and then your couples, they just get like a amnesia, and then they just forgot why they booked you, and they start to act cheesy and look at the camera at every single picture. Every wedding, once I start shooting, they just forget about the art. They just reprogram themselves. Okay, I'm in a wedding. I have to look beautiful, and I have to look at the freaking camera every single time. So the getting ready part of the wedding for me, it's extremely important because I have to tell them, hey guys, I'm here for you, and I want to create art for you. So don't forget about that. And I tell that message maybe like 15 times during the getting ready for the bride and the groom. And I am as loud as I can so everybody can listen to me. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really wonderful to hear, because I feel like when you're, as a wedding photographer myself, sometimes you get your messaging across, you speak to the couple, but as you mentioned, everything can be forgotten on the wedding day. And then you feel like you're just another vendor, maybe sometimes. And you're like, oh, I'm taking photos that are a bit more standard now, and I'm not being able to really share who I am. But doing that at the getting ready and sharing that message several times is amazing. Has it ever backfired on you?
Well, yeah, sometimes like the bridesmaids or the grooms that are, oh, you're the artist, and they start to mock at me. But I love that. I love being the underdog. Once they see their slideshow, they're gonna be like, holy mother of God, like I didn't knew that this was possible. This kind of photography was possible during a wedding. So I prefer that. I prefer to everybody has like super low expectations. And when they see the final images, they get amazed, And I get a lot of referrals because of that, because they don't think it's possible. As photographers, we are sometimes obsessed with that part, and we think that every human being, it's in our same like channel or vibration or frequency, but it's not. For most of the families and most of the guests, pictures are pictures, and that's it. So I love that confrontation, man, always. And
that's beautiful. I love that. Sorry.
And don't get me wrong. I still do the formals. I still do the safe stuff. But I try to make it as fast as possible so I can have like free time to create for me. And that way they want to connect with me as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You're shooting a wedding and you're reminding the couple in the morning that, that you're the artist and you're here for them and you're there to create. But then say during the ceremony, you then meet the officiant and they haven't got a clue who you are and what you're about. And then they have certain rules. How do you quickly engage with them and be a bit more daring during the ceremony when maybe a photographer is expected to be a bit more in the shadows so that they're less disruptive to the ceremony?
You have to always be aware of that. I don't want to be an asshole, and I don't want to break the rules or have a spotlight on me. So I'm always asked the bride and groom, like if the priest or who's gonna marry them if they're like extremely religious or not, if how close can I be? I always ask these questions beforehand, so they can have I can manage their expectations.
And how about missing moments? Are you ever in a place whereby this is a challenge that I have? Sometimes I've lined up a shot and I'm just waiting for something to happen, and I don't want to move, but then and say this was at the reception, but then I hear a lot of laughter and something happening behind me that I know is probably a really great moment and I should document.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got my eye on what's happening in front of me and it's just about to happen too. So now I'm compromised. Do you have any advice as to how to work around that? And what would you do in that situation?
I think you have to compromise to one picture at a time. You're always going to miss moments, like always. So you have to trust your gut. And the more you trust your gut, the better you're gonna get at. But there's always happening things like 360 degrees in front of us. So one picture at a time. That's it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's good to remember actually as well, because sometimes for myself and maybe for other photographers, I go to where the energy is and where the sound is and where, there's action happening.
Yeah.
But there's also, there's, when I slow down and sometimes there isn't as much going on in terms of volume or sound. There's so many beautiful, subtle moments that are unfolding in front of me, and it gives me space to start capturing those kind of things. So you 100% agree that there's 360 degrees, there's always going to be something happening, something that you're always going to be missing.
Yeah, and I think you have to always try to act fast but think slow, because it's like being in the Matrix, man. You have to always acknowledge what's important right now, because as photographers, we are like directors. We're choosing what things the couples are gonna remember. So you are you are their god, like their memory god, at least for that day or that weekend. So it's I love that part. I remember, I don't remember the name of this guy, but he went as a second shooter and he tried to tell the story only with hands, like all the wedding, like no heads, no nothing, only hands.
Wow.
No, that's amazing, right? And you can grab that, like that style for maybe, I don't know, the cocktail hour. You can, I'm only going to tell the cocktail hour showing hands and like the ching-chings and the whiskeys and all that stuff. So I love visualizing that, and movies are amazing because they tell the same story in a different way. Every story is like a love story or like a hate story, but the vision, it's what matters, and you have to honor your vision.
Beautiful, Fer. And so I feel like at a wedding, I've never seen you shoot a wedding. I've seen you shoot couples and teaching and working through your thought process. But can you help me? Can you paint a picture of what you are like on a wedding day, the kind of energy that you're bringing, or how you're sort of taking things in as they're happening, in terms of what you said, thinking? Did you say think fast, move slow?
Yeah, no, yes, you have your mind has to be like 110% always. But if you move as fast as your brain, everybody's gonna be afraid of you, man, because you're gonna look like a maniac. So the idea is trying to anticipate what's gonna happen in front of you. Like on most of my weddings, or at least the pictures I share, for me, composition is my priority. So I'm always trying to anticipate what's going to happen in front of me. So you have to be able to say, okay, the getting ready or the first dance or the first kiss, you only need one good picture to remember each moment. So if I have a strong composition, the picture is gonna look good for me, So for me, it's trying to anticipate and choose the right angle for the action that's gonna happen in front of me.
Awesome. And so you're composing first and then waiting. And when do you know you're satisfied with the moment that you've captured, the scene that is in front of you, before you move on?
I'm never satisfied, man. I'm never satisfied. But the good thing of weddings is you cannot stop and complain.
Yes, true.
You have to keep shooting. You cannot acknowledge that you missed this shot. You have to keep going and go. It's rare for me to chimp my camera. I just see if my exposure is right, and then I just keep shooting, because if I spend more time on the back of my camera, I'm going to lose so many moments.
Yes, definitely. One of the hardest things that I think I struggle with, well, not really struggle with, but a challenge for me at weddings, is not being able to sometimes fully appreciate an amazing moment that's happened in front of you and enjoy it, on the back of the camera, like in the moment, because obviously there's more and more things happening, but sometimes you just get this amazing image that just, you're so stoked with, but obviously there is something else that is, again, happening. Do you feel that in any way when you're shooting, or is it something that you you know that you're just going to enjoy the images, afterwards.
Yeah, like a lot of times I'm like crying in the back of my camera, man. Just I'm there to document. I'm there to create. I'm there to make the click. If I don't make the click, people are not gonna remember the awesomeness of the moment. So yeah, it's like feeling and shooting. Like your emotion has to connect with your freaking shooting finger and your focus finger. That's quite important as well, because if you're not in focus, like you're screwed, right? So yeah, like I'm trying to always connect the emotions with my right hand. If not, you can say, oh, this place was beautiful, the kiss and the romance, and I'm gonna ask, and where's the freaking picture? Yes, right? It's like being an editor of a newspaper, like if there's no picture, there's no moment, period.
Definitely. How important is curation to you? And before you answer that, actually, could you just give us a quick rundown of, on a wedding day, roughly how many images you're shooting and how many images maybe you deliver from a typical wedding?
I shoot a lot, brother. Like on the last 2 weddings I have shot by myself, I've been shooting between 12,000 and 14,000 images.
Wow.
So yeah, I shoot a lot. Like I know there's a lot of debate. Like, oh, I shoot only 500 and I delivered 300, so I'm a master. Okay, bravo, man. That works for you, man. I'm quite unsecure of myself. So for me, each moment has like a peak, but I don't know when the peak's gonna happen. So I prefer to shoot during the entire moment, and then on my computer with a glass of wine, I can analyze, okay, this is the best one. This is the one I'm gonna deliver. So I usually deliver between 400 and 800 images.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us. I want to move on to a bit about your family life, actually, because you're at home now for a few days. You mentioned that you just shot a wedding, and then I believe you're heading off to Italy next.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
How do you fit in? Being a father, you're the father of three children, I believe.
3 that I know.
And then your wife is an amazing entrepreneur herself, and it has a huge following on social, and she has a similar work ethic to yourself, I believe. And how do you manage being an amazing father alongside being an amazing creative photographer?
Well, thank you, Bob. It's I try to not overthink about it. So for me, it's about if I'm home, if I have an ugly job but a safe job, if I'm 24/7 father, I'm gonna be so unhappy, brother. So I want to show my kids that it's possible to fulfill your passion, that you can live out of something that you love and respect. So yeah, I can be like the homestay dad, but I'm gonna be this angry freaking hogger, man. So for me, I prefer them to miss me, and then when I get home, they feel my hugs. When I'm home, I try not to work as much, so I prepare their breakfast. I pick them up at school. I do the homework with them. I take them to the afternoon activities. I'm there, So yeah, you have to sacrifice a few days, and then you come back, and it's like a fairy tale, I think. So for me, nostalgia, it's an extremely important emotion that we have to acknowledge and we have to respect, because a lot of people they want to have stability, and stability becomes boredom so easily and so fast. At least for me. So I need this rush, I need this adrenaline, I need this energy to be a decent human being, that my kids want to spend time for me, not because you're a father they want to spend time with you. That doesn't work like that. I want them to respect me and become part of their life, not because I'm their freaking father and they have my own blood. I want them to see, oh, this guy is doing it great. He smiles every freaking day I see him. I want to be like this guy. So for me, that's the message. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be there for you every time you need me, but when I'm there, I'm your freaking soul and your shadow at the same time.
I wanted to ask you a bit about social media and Instagram, YouTube. You post on Instagram and Facebook very regularly. You do Instagram lives, and I'm so jealous because I feel like you're sharing so much beautiful content, and the ones that I seem to catch at least are in Spanish, and I feel you just have such an amazing connection with a lot of photographers all over the world. Really, you have quite the following and quite the eye, and it's so well deserved. And I want to ask you what it means to you to give back and to help others and teach, because you've taught many workshops all over the world, and you've been a part of many conferences, and you continue to just feed your mind and learn and grow, and then help so many others along the journey. So can you give us a bit of an idea as to what inspires you to do that?
When I started becoming a wedding photographer, it was hard to learn in Mexico. We didn't have a lot of like newcomers. Like it was like a top secret, like a chemistry, math, science, the Walter White stuff, man. Everybody was kind of selfish with their formulas, and it was just so hard to get ahead in the game. So I started to travel to learn from people in the States first. And I saw this community of people that they were just sharing their ideas, and they were just like, if they were booked, they were sharing their agenda with other photographers. And I was like, wow, that's the way to do it. So when I came back to Mexico, we made this small group of photographers, and we tried to connect with as many local photographers and national photographers as possible, just to empower the community, to say, hey guys, I respect how you see things. I love your passion, but we can learn from each other. And for me, that's amazing. Like, I don't want the next generations of photographers to have the same struggle of learning that I had. So no matter if you're been shooting weddings for 10 years or 10 days, you can learn from the older guys and the newer guys. Like the new guys, they know Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, all that stuff, man. So learn from those guys. Don't think that you're wiser because you're just older. We have to learn from each other. We depend from each other. And it's in the community to make the wedding photography industry to have a really good name out of it.
Totally. And so can you tell us a bit more about these Instagram live feeds that you do, and also the teaching online that you do, and where maybe somebody could find you if they wanted to learn a bit more from yourself?
Yeah, man. Well, so as you were telling, the having a balance between family, education, and shooting weddings can be quite complicated. So I started using this platform called Patreon, and it's like a Netflix for education, or if you are sexy, you can sell your sexy pictures as well there. But I'm using it just for education, and I love just connecting with other photographers, because I don't know, I still remember how I felt when I started in this industry. Like, you feel like Bambi, your legs are just trembling, and you feel that every time you get an inquiry, you get excited. And every time you get a like, you get excited. So it's always good to say, hey, man, you're good. If you keep doing this, you're going to be amazing. So I do a few of like photo critiques for the students. I just tell them like experiences that I had on the last wedding, a few of my mistakes, or why I'm passionate to shoot this wedding, or if I'm going to try a new light, or if I'm just shooting a wedding with one lens instead of 3 lenses. So it's just telling people that it's possible. Like, I think everybody needs like a referral to say, okay, if this guy did it, I can do it as well. So I try to do that. Like, hey guys, like, you don't need to be a genius to make it in this industry. If you are good with people, like, karma is going to come back to you. So I'm always trying to empower them. I don't want them to feel like, oh man, like this is hard, or the guys who are the teachers, they have been touched by the photo gods. It's not like that. It's just hard freaking work, and how much are you willing to sacrifice and give yourself to become good enough in your craft.
Beautiful. And so what is some of your goals that are coming up in the next few years? Do you set goals? Are you taking it year by year, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking in the future, so I'm a day in, day out kind of guy. But yeah, in the near future, we're trying to, with my wife and me, we're trying to build this place like a wedding venue / workshop place / social media community, like a lot of like kind of an Casey Neistat, like the 638 or 863. I don't remember the name of the place, but something like that, like a place for creatives that you can feel normal even if you feel like a black sheep. But like Mexican version of it.
Wow. And so this is going to be local to home in Monterrey, or?
Yes. Like I want to be more home with my kids become teenagers. So we're trying to plan a little bit in that direction to have more local stuff. And even like where I live, it's a beautiful place. And in the near future, I want to do more like destination weddings in my city. So I'm trying to see how to make that happen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Fer. Beautiful. So if somebody did want to find you online and want to learn from you, where's the best place that they can catch you?
Well, like I'm more active in Instagram, like just at Fer Juaristi. The spelling is crazy, so you have to check it out on the notes.
No problem.
And I have the Patreon community, but most of the stuff it's in Spanish, but we're adding English subtitles slowly. So it's getting there.
Okay, fantastic. Any space that you would do some of the classes in English, or is it that you want to focus on the Spanish for now?
Well, yeah, like this year I'm still going to Belfast to another convention. Next year there's a few workshops in Europe, but I don't have plans. I always just react, man. I'm a freaking animal, so I just react to whatever happens in front of me and go crazy.
Fantastic, Fer. Beautiful. So what does the next few months for you look like in Mexico?
Busy, man. Like thank God, like September, October, and November, I still have like 6 destination weddings to shoot, 3 workshops to take or to teach, and just hopefully spend as much time as I can with my wife and my kids. And then December, like 0, nothing. I did that on purpose. Like I don't want to see any bride and groom, or even if I see a girl dressing white, I'm gonna chop her head, man, in December. so I just wanna be home. I just wanna be calling my weddings, editing, like with a good coffee, tea, just relax, man, for that month. And January is gonna go crazy as well. So 1 month for me.
Fantastic. And last quick questions just to end. Could you tell us what is one? You recommended a book earlier, and I know you're always consuming or reading books. Could you tell us one film that we should check out, and maybe one book that we should read?
Well, I'm going to recommend one other podcast that I love, and it's by the same author of the book that I told you. It's called Unmistakable Creative. I'm listening more podcasts than, well, the book I'm reading right now, it's by Neil Gaiman. I don't know if you know about that guy. He's an author.
Yes, yeah.
So I just love his process, and he has 2 books. One, he did like a speech, like a graduation speech a few years ago, and they have this book about this speech. It's a beautiful book for getting inspired. And then another one, it's just like a I don't know. It's all his biography and all the notes and things that he's constructed during his whole career. So it's amazing, that one. I just love the creative process of each person. Like you can be a doctor, but you can have an amazing creative process. So I love learning patterns and what makes people tick. I love that part, man. And movies, I don't know which movie I will recommend right now, man. I'm not watching a lot of TV right now, so I'm gonna send you that later, man.
Yeah, no worries. There was, I think, the last time we spoke, this was maybe last year. There was actually, maybe it's a bit longer. The movie that you recommended to me was Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, beautiful movie. Thanks for recommending that. Well, Fer, thank you so much for your time, dude. I absolutely admire you, and I love your creativity and your willingness to always teach and give back to others, and keep inspiring, brother. I really, really appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time today.
No, thank you for this interview, brother, and you know that you have a brother in me, man.
Thank you, bro. Awesome, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that. To learn more about Fer, he can be found at www.ferjuaristi.com. And we'd love to hear what you thought and what inspired you from this episode. Join the conversation and use the hashtag #TheArcCreativePodcast. Tweet us or Instagram us at ArcThisIs. I'd absolutely love to hear from you, and let's get a conversation going with the community. I'm your host, Sachin Khona, and I look forward to joining you for another episode of the Arc Creative Podcast next week. Hugs and high fives. Peace.